Hi, my name is Celeste Heineck. I'm an architect here in Haverhill. I'm here with Mike Valvo, my friend, my colleague, my neighbor. He's an interior designer, an environmental designer, an overall creative person. He and I gave this presentation to the Downtown Waterfront Committee last year. It is called Eyes Wide Open. It's a chance to take a fresh look at what we have here in Haverhill to offer. Some of us get very familiar with our surroundings, but this is a chance to take a fresh look at what we have here in our city. So please, sit back, relax, get a cup of coffee, spend some time with us, and take a fresh look at what we have in our wonderful downtown.
This is an exercise to take an objective view of our downtown Haverhill. Here's a shot of two towns. Look at both movies together and see what makes you want to walk, shop, and work in each of these areas. Which would you like to see as your downtown?
In this presentation, we're going to focus on two basic issues of the downtown, the street and the riverfront. And as we look at each one of these slides, we want you to think of three very simple concepts. What are the positive features, what needs to be improved, and what opportunities exist?
That's a great point, Celeste.
First, we're going to look at our gateways. What is a gateway, Mike?
A gateway is a doorway. Once you have passed through, you have the sense you've arrived. What makes a person decide to enter that door? What makes it exciting? What makes it inviting? Here's one of our first gateways. In Haverhill, we think of two gateways on either side of the downtown area.
At the Merrimack Gateway, we have these buildings with these wide sweeping curves that draw you into the downtown. A great thing to capture and to maintain about this side of our city. But how do we enhance this?
I think there are lots of ways.
The Industrial Gateway at River and Washington Street serves as a completely different type of gateway, where the railroad bridge forms an arch over the street. And what's nice about it is that it echoes our industrial past. Do you have any ideas about this, Mike?
Yes, I do. I think the welcome sign could be much more dynamic, and certainly backlit signs are not the best solution these days.
And look what's around this gateway. Is this the image we want to portray of our city?
I think not, Celeste.
Clearly, there are better solutions about what could happen at the front door of our downtown. Now we're going to focus on the streetscape. Has anybody noticed what a wonderful building our post office is?
Haverhill is blessed with a great variety of architectural styles.
Best shown here. What a great architectural heritage we have.
Here's the practice of same thing, only different. I like when you say that. There's a repetitive nature that creates a streetscape rhythm, together forming a wall defining the street.
And note the repetitive nature of the windows in the buildings here. It's the same thing, only different.
Great saying. What would enhance this block, however?
Beautiful buildings are not just on Washington Street. This one is on Merrimack.
Note the disruption of repetition and what happens at the pedestrian level.
The streetscape has a sense of falling apart here. Plus, these buildings are always in shade, and we need to create walls where they don't exist.
And here it feels like it may have fallen apart altogether. Windows from building to building have fallen into disarray. Here the trees are helping to create a rhythm. Note the building facade. Look at the signage. Although better, what could improve?
And this is the opposite of what everything we're saying that makes a streetscape something that a place where people want to stay.
What can we do here?
Now let's focus on our transportation facilities. Haverhill is blessed with three major types of transportation right in the downtown area. Plus there's great access to 495.
So many opportunities for sophisticated business. What do commuters need? Takeaway, umbrellas, flowers. It's a great place for a captive audience.
Do you know that if you buy flowers in Boston, they're dead by the time you get to Haverhill?
That probably makes sense.
And a bus stop right smack in the middle of the city, bringing people in all the time, making a fantastic captive audience. What do they need? Why are they there? What can we do to service them? Do you know where this is, Mike?
I do. I bet not many have noticed the tile details.
Exactly. But I bet people would notice this and know where this is. This, of course, is our parking garage on Merrimack Street.
What can we do to improve this?
It's really not a badly designed parking garage. Maybe it just needs a little sprucing up.
We can get it far more attractive.
And this is our successfully designed parking garage. Note that grid that's placed on the facade picks up the window rhythm of the earlier buildings, similar to the one right next to it in this picture.
We have parking on the street, adjacent and behind the buildings, and a block away. Each brings opportunities along the path.
Such as right here. Could you imagine if this was livened up with tables and lighting and music?
I see a strolling guitar player.
Yeah. And same thing here, more opportunities. What about farmers markets?
Carts, ice cream.
Yes, green space.
There are all kinds of new grasses and vegetation which can bring four-season interest. It's a little bleak at this point.
This business has clearly taken advantage of the parking lot in the back. So much so that their back has become their front. Although parking right at the street is very convenient, it does pose some problems. Cars are not really attractive to look at, and it disturbs the commercial momentum that is built from business to business.
Think of how a landscaped barrier could hide the cars and create a street wall.
Here's the basic idea. It just needs to be a little pruned, I think.
A little pruning could help, and maybe a little plant food.
Now let's take a look at our buildings. Look how beautiful this is. Do you know where this is, Mike?
I do. It's the top of the post office. Look at what the wonderful detail.
Haverhill has such beautiful buildings, such as this one. This is the perfect example of what a building in the downtown area can be and designed to be on the street. Look at the pattern language. The design of each floor hints of the activities that exist behind. Look at the subtle changes as you go up the building. Each floor is different, but yet there's a base and there's a top as the building reaches to the sky.
You know exactly where to put the signs. The treatment of the first floor is very much keeping with the design of the entire facade.
In contrast to this building here. This building has the same attention to the detail from the second floor above, the same repetition of the windows, the same scale, but it looks like the design of the floor is completely independent of the building above.
And the design of the first floor doesn't have the same sense of scale that the rest of the building has.
Another beautiful building we have here in Haverhill. Granted, the first floor here hasn't been redesigned, and you can see how the larger windows at the bottom create a base, and again, there's a pattern language that gets smaller as the building reaches to the sky.
And the window boxes add such life at street level.
And this is a building where that hasn't happened. Clearly, the first floor was designed independent of the beautiful building up above. The repetition of the windows is lost, and the materials just don't look like they belong.
And look at the different types of signage. Only 2 of the 5 are consistent in design.
This building is simply just in a poor state of repair. It is a good opportunity, though.
It's a great opportunity.
I think this building goes against everything we've discussed so far about what makes a building in a downtown great. There are no windows, the sign band is disrupted, the scale of the building just simply doesn't fit with the adjacent buildings.
It doesn't feel friendly.
No. People have strong opinions about this building, but it is a fine example of modern architecture and not a bad one at that. Now let's talk about our storefronts. I think everyone in Haverhill recognizes Newman's storefront, but I think people react to the temporary signs and the window displays that don't change very often. I don't think they really entice people to come in to shop.
What could the owner of Newman's do?
This slide tells a lot. Look at the contrast between the 2 facades. The one on the left is very open and inviting and secure. The one on the right is the exact opposite. It's unfriendly, and it doesn't add to the safety of the street if there aren't eyes on the street at all times.
It's an interruption of the sign band once again.
Exactly.
Although the glass block lets in light and provides privacy on purpose in this case, however, privacy creates a barrier at street level.
Well, what can you do?
Perhaps an office in the back or on the second floor so that the front stays open and more inviting.
Isn't this a fun window?
I think it's a great window.
But what are the good points here? What could this owner do to improve the facade to make it more attractive and invite people in?
What makes good window design?
Signage. Let's talk about signage now. It's always an issue.
Oh, let's talk about signage.
Here are our brand new signs that we have in Haverhill, I think they have a quiet dignity about them, don't you?
I think some of them do. Here's another example.
Clearly, there are sign design guidelines here. You can note them. They're all very similar. Again, the same thing, only different, that I think helps to have individual designs work together as a whole and create a common feel to the whole city. No design standard here.
Signage always works best when it's designed to fit the entire facade.
Here we are again. A wonderful block, but what could we do to take it to the next level?
Interesting window displays could help, lighting, and again, consistent signage guidelines.
Here maybe we have signage on steroids, huh? What's wrong with this picture? How could it be improved?
I think there are lots of ways for it to be improved. The sign ban, strengthening the sign ban,
removing the temporary sign.
Removing temporary signs.
You really like this sign, don't you?
Well, Celeste, it's not, like is not the word, but I am intrigued as to what's behind the vinyl.
Haverhill has a lot of green space on the street. I was surprised how many locations there were.
Another great opportunity missed. A cigarette-covered plaza with a flashing sign. Not one business that truly services this charming plaza. What reason is there to sit in this park?
It could be more green. What's nice about the layout of the downtown is that there are park areas both right smack in the heart of downtown and on both ends of the downtown, close to the gateways. This park, which is close to the commuter rail station, is used quite a lot. Especially, it was really nice when we had an ice cream stand next to it. You could sit and have ice cream there.
Here's a nicely designed little park at the Goki parking garage. Not very green, except for the peeling paint on the benches. Let's see if we can reactivate the water feature that is here. How wonderful this could be if it were cleaned or planted. Here's a pretty nice buffer to the parking area. Look at that beautiful tree, and what a nice, simple barrier that makes. Great planters, a bit desolate in the winter. Four-season interest here could be great.
This really shows all the green space that we have along the street. Again, I was surprised to see how much green space we actually have. We have those three major areas that I talked about before, one to the left by the rail, one in the center, one over to the right by the parking garage. And on the Merrimack side of the street, there's a string of lots of trees and greenery right at the street level. It's actually quite nice. Let's talk about benches and amenities now. Benches are always a hot topic in a downtown area. And a lot of thought gets put into the design of benches so that people aren't encouraged to sleep there overnight.
Which benches would you like to see, Celeste?
Well, I think clearly the one on the right looks more attractive and more comfortable.
I think so.
We've got a nice pattern language in the street that creates a sense of place.
The base treatment on the clock could be certainly improved, so it's part of the park.
Absolutely. I think a few minutes, actually 15 minutes, I think you could come up with something nicer there.
I could come up with something.
But we have a nice pattern language that's created by the acorn lights, the street tower, the bollards, the trash cans, even our brand new planters add to that to create a sense of place on the street. We do have some issues regarding cleanliness and repairs, though.
Pedestrians pick up subtle clues when streets are not in good condition.
The feel of this garage would be much improved if the rusty pipes were painted and it was cleaned.
And if the concrete were power washed.
Absolutely. It's all that facade needs. And here, the streetscape is actually not in bad shape, but right at eye level, right as a focal point in front of you, there's the dirt at the bottom of the Pawtucket Bank. If this was cleaned, this would be much nicer.
Look at how nice the landscape area is taken care of and how it adds to the street in this location.
I always notice how nicely that's landscaped every time I drive by.
I do as well.
We certainly need some bricks repaired. And Mike, what is this thing?
Beats me. Here we're going to talk about public access. People are beginning to see the value of the pedestrian links to the river. Here's a great example of an attempt in the right direction.
Absolutely. But what's wrong with this picture? Is there anything about this alleyway that makes you think it's a good idea to walk down and stay there?
Some people may think this is a barrier, an empty alley, but I see it as an opportunity, as you do. Think of what this alley would be if the windows and doors were open to the alley and there was something interesting happening at the end.
Like this one. The mural draws you down to the river, but is it enough?
I'm not sure. I think that this alley could be addressed.
Another opportunity. There are numerous ways to get access to the river, and each one can be different than the next to create interest and excitement about the river. Here is where private access becomes prime access. And didn't they do such a great job of creating a nice walkway to the riverfront here?
I agree.
What a missed opportunity. This facade is directly on the river. Wouldn't it be great to open these windows and have dining overlooking the river? Are you ready for what their view would be? This. This is even in the winter. This is what you would be missing.
There's a lot of talk about the Riverwalk. Here's another look at it and some of the things that we can do to connect it to the downtown.
Wow, is that pretty?
That's beautiful. What a view.
And I was pleasantly surprised at how much of the Riverwalk has already been developed. But this is one of the examples of one of the problems. There are barriers along the river walkway that need to get addressed. Barrier? You think so?
I'd say yes.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, this is great. It'll be great when it's all finished. What a beautiful view.
And another great walkway, but again, another problem. This happens to be private land. And I think the problems people find with the riverfront is that there's this difference in level. Sometimes you are right up to the river wall and you can't see the river, and you have to get above the river wall to grasp the wonderful view. But I see this as an opportunity.
Wouldn't it be great to continue the walk along the top of the wall?
Or to play the differences. Sometimes you sense the river behind the wall and sometimes you don't. Each could make the experience of the other more interesting. This area certainly could be improved right now, only by opening up the windows so that people could see into it. We need eyes on the streets, on our streetscapes, to keep them safe. And this, again, is an opportunity in my mind. A wonderful pedestrian walkway with interesting things happening along the wall, with interaction with people behind those windows.
Here's another great opportunity. This is the gateway at the river. This is what people see coming over the bridge onto Main Street, and this is the first thing that is seen. Donations here and all this graffiti.
It really isn't the best use for that particular place in our downtown. And here again, what a missed opportunity. Too bad those windows aren't opened up to the riverway. They have the most gorgeous view. Rents would increase.
And wouldn't that concrete be enhanced by a great color or a great piece of public art?
Or if it was just cleaned. And then the river walkway picks up after you've passed the bridge. But to get to that portion, look where you have to walk. Here. I mean, it doesn't feel very welcoming, certainly with all of the graffiti and the chain link fence. But if that was removed, if we had maybe some security cameras, look at the view you're missing if you got there.
I think chain link fence is a pretty big offender these days.
But look how wonderful this is. What if all the graffiti was cleaned off, the bridge was repaired? I bet people would come here to have their picture taken.
I sure would.
I think everybody really notices the river wall as a prominent part of our landscape. But I think it's pretty cool how the buildings kind of spring up from that wall. It creates a nice base for the downtown. And there's an awful lot of things you could do with that wall. Lighting, artwork, flags. I bet you could come up with wonderful ideas. Yes. Just give him a shot. This is a plan along the riverway, just to show you the things that we've been talking about. There are green areas at both ends and in the middle, right around the Haverhill Bank. The red line represents the wall that we need to address. The yellow stripes indicate places where there are barriers, like the dumpster, like the sign not to enter private land. And then there are purple stripes on this plan that show where there's a clear, full height difference that needs to be addressed. Again, I see these as opportunities, not problems, to make a really interesting riverfront walkway.
And our sturgeon.
I love our sturgeon.
Public art is a great part of who we are and what we do. We have a tremendous amount of talent here. We have a tremendous amount of natural resources. The sturgeon is from the dinosaur area, and it's spawning in our river. I think we need to take advantage of that.
It's a great symbol for our city, I think. So thank you for spending this time with Mike and me. We hope you enjoyed this presentation and taking a look at Haverhill. We hope we've opened your eyes to some possibilities. Mike and I are creative people, but we're nothing compared to the creativity that exists in this entire city as a whole. So please get involved. Help us make Haverhill a far more incredible place to live.
Thank you.